There's a road runs through this town, tells a story. It's got me exactly where I'm supposed to be. And if you're thinking of me, well, don't be worried, 'cause I'm as happy as you are, surely soon to see. And I say, come over, just come on over, you'll say. Yeah, I say, come over, come on over, you'll say. Yeah, I say, come over, just come on over, see what we have here. Soon as you get moving, yeah, the sooner I can prove it, yeah. We got fields growing wild along the river. There's lots of critters, they blaze a trail through my backyard. And there's trees growing tall which surround me. All this wildlife waiting for you and I to come on board. And I say, come over, just come on over, you'll say.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and we are live here at our Zoom Central makeshift TV studio at the Waverly Center, aka Senior Center, and this is recording our remote version of Portland on the Move, and this is actually our May version. So welcome all, and our special guests today have our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Philip O'Reilly, and our soon-to-be new Superintendent of Schools, now is the Director of Curriculum and Technology, Dr. Charles Britton. So welcome, you guys. Thanks for coming on. I know, Philip, you're being tested this morning, so you're calling in on the phone. So we want to wish you luck as far as that goes and go from there. And Charles, thank you for coming down and being all on time, and we're ready to go here. So anyway, what we'd like to do, and I think the premise of today's show is basically kind of let people know as far as what you guys have doing. I know your administrative team have been working tremendously hard and done a yeoman's job on making the transition from in-school learning to online learning. So I don't know, Philip, if you want to take that starting off, and we'll go from there.
Sure. I'm so pleased and proud of our staff, as I've said so many times, to take this ball with a moment's notice. And as a leader, you always want to make sure that people are with you. And the unique thing about this, Dave, was that people pushed me to do this. They said, we have this, Philip, we can take this, we can do this. And we didn't skip a beat. There were no non-school days between the time that we shut down and the time that our distance learning plan began. So my hat is off to my team, my administrative team, and also all my teachers who said, we have this, Philip, we can take care of this. And, every single day my administrative team meets at 9 o'clock. We discuss in detail the plan and the challenges that we're facing, and then those opportunities that we can take to make it better. It isn't perfect, we know that, but we're working daily to make it perfect. So Charles, take it.
Yeah, I mean, just certainly agree with Philip, and a tip of the hat to the teachers and the students for figuring this out so quickly. People are working in some cases twice as hard as under normal circumstances, both writing the lesson plans, delivering the instruction, being involved in the teaching and learning, and then with that also taking care of families at home. We've heard from parents very clearly that the challenges of balancing the work from home with supporting the distance learning on the student end is that struggle is real. But teachers are also, in some cases, managing very young children at home while trying to run classes online and facilitate learning. In some cases, there have been some funny moments where children have photobombed the class meetings in some cases. But, for the most part, I've got to say everybody has risen to the occasion, put in a ton of effort to make this thing work. It's not perfect, but it really is going as well as could possibly be expected under the circumstances.
Sure, that's great, and kudos to you. I mean, if you look at other districts around the state, it took them probably 2.5 to 3 weeks to get up to where you guys hit the ground running, and I think that is definitely a demonstration of again, all of your efforts and your leadership as far as that goes. And I know, going forward, as Philip said, it's not perfect, and I think one of the things that you did in relation to kind of hot washing this thing is that you put out a parent survey. So tell us a little bit about that parent survey and what that entailed.
I'd love to. I summarized it to our parents in an email to them yesterday. We also talked about it at the board meeting, and Charles wrote a unbelievably robust report that for the Board of Education, and that's on our website if people want to read it. But so we came out with 6 or 7 different conclusions. First and foremost, and it feels really good to say this, Dave. So many of our staff members were recognized for their ongoing efforts from parents. Parents at every grade level in every school have said, thank you. We appreciate all that you're doing. And that was loud and clear. But also loud and clear was the fact, as Charles just referenced, that parents are trying to balance their own work distance learning or working from home and then our distance learning plan. And that's hard, as he referenced in a comical way, the photo bombs. But, it's hard for our parents to manage their own jobs, manage their families, and then manage the family's learning, their children's learning.
Sure.
So we understand that. I mentioned in my letter that a couple of parents reached out to me after the governor closed at our schools for the remainder of the year, and they really wanted me to back off, and I think that's not really what we need to do. We need to have a sense of consistency for our kids, and we need to bring this home, if you will, in these last 6 weeks of school. So, I want parents to know that we recognize their challenges, but I also need them to understand how important it is for us to maintain this routine for our kids, because one of the other pieces that we understand is that our kids are struggling emotionally, that they miss their peers, they miss their teachers, and they miss school. And we want to maintain some sort of consistency for them for the remainder of the year.
Right. And I think that was abundantly prevalent, when we, and again, for those of you that participated in the Community Appreciation Parade that was held on Friday, that was unbelievable. The signs and the chalk markings on the road, thanking teachers, thanking staff. I think that was, a testament of not only the effort that the teachers put out putting the parade together, and kudos to them for putting that together. And just an FYI, we're going to be playing that actually for our commercial here, and as of now, I think we put that video up on Saturday, and I think we have well over 1,100 views. So kudos to you guys on that. And I think, like I said, that was abundantly prevalent, in the sentiments from all the parents and all the teachers that lined the parade route around town.
It was a fabulous day, Dave, to experience it. I think we traveled almost 40 miles in our trek throughout Portland on Friday, and it was nearly a 3-hour trek. But it was so wonderful to see the happy faces all along the way, all throughout this town, at every corner of the town. And also what was gratifying was the fact that our teachers and staff loved it just as much. And
Yes.
So many teachers commented that they have missed their own kids in that routine. So it was great to see that interchange between families and kids and our staff.
I think you look at some of the footage, and it was kind of a little bit different. We put basically edited a 3-hour parade down to about 4.5 minutes, and to get that done. Brendan Toller did an awesome job. And Brendan and I were in the edit suite on Saturday for 3.5 hours. Okay, getting that to where we had the flow, we had all of the footage, and like I say, we had actually 4 cameras. We had 2 stationary cameras, and Nick Dawson, who was in the studio with us today here filming, was on one camera, and Kevin Armstrong was on another camera, and we also had our first one of our selectmen, Jim Tripp, was operating a drone, and Nick was operating his drone, and we also had a GoPro camera which was taped on the inside of the school bus window, catching all the reactions of the people going by. So it was, like I say, it was phenomenal. So kudos to everybody on that, and you'll be seeing that when we play that for our commercials. So going forward, I obviously we have I think our last day of school, Charles, is going to be
June 16th.
June 16th. So getting us to June 16th, what's the plan? Whoever wants to take that.
Go ahead, Charles.
Sure. So right now, of course, the distance learning is going to continue for the next between now and the 16th. Our teachers are still designing lessons and both providing combinations of what we call synchronous learning and asynchronous learning. Synchronous learning involves those largely facilitated by Google Meet, in-person morning meetings, check-ins, classes, tutoring sessions, office hours that teachers are running. And then, of course, the asynchronous part of the learning facilitated primarily through Google Classroom and Seesaws, where teachers are posting work for students to complete on their own and then resubmit to teachers. So parents and students, please keep it up. We know you're working hard. We know these are extraordinary circumstances, and it's hard. It's difficult. Learning's difficult in general. We get that. But like Philip said, we really want everybody to finish strong this year. Please stay engaged. We're almost there. The finish line is in sight. Let's make sure we end the year on a very positive foot so that we can pick up where we left off, hopefully this summer, which we're going to talk about shortly, and definitely next fall.
Sure.
Yeah, we understand, Dave, that these are unique times, and unique times call for unique responses. And so one of the things that we're well aware of, and I'll go back to the survey. Parents. One of the things parents are concerned about is the time that kids have missed from their learning, and what can we do to make sure that kids are where they should be at the end of their particular grade level. Well, we all know that defining where should be is not always easy, but we do know that we want to provide additional learning experiences for our students, whether it be during summer school, whether it be extended learning options, whether it be remedial support throughout next year, whether it will be after-school programming next year. I want our town, our parents, to know that we're well aware of both the academic and social emotional needs of our kids after this COVID crisis is over, and the fact that we need to do some additional programming. And one of the examples would be, Nate Foley and I, our rec department director, will be meeting shortly with Charles to talk about options for collaboration this summer. if the summer programming that Nate designs yearly for Portland kids, if it goes forward, we'd like to have an educational component in that program for students. And we think that we can use some of the financial support that the government has given us through the stimulus funding, that additional unexpected financial support. We'd like to see if we can use that to create these extended learning opportunities for kids in different venues this summer and once school begins.
Right. I know, Russ Melman, our Chatham Health Director, was on our podcast last week, and, the question came up about summer camps, and I think the cloudy, the crystal ball is still cloudy on how those summer camps are going to evolve, as far as depending on, when, per the governor's order, going to start opening up on the 20th. And it has to evolve, and it's a fluid situation. So it's probably we're probably going to have to pull a few audibles as we go forward here. Going forward.
Yeah, and I think I just want to add on to that and make sure that if it's not universally understood, it should be that the health of our children is going to be the first consideration that is in the forefront of our mind before we make any decisions. We are going to rely on the scientific evidence and the advice of the people with the right letters after their name to tell us what to do, to tell us how we all want to get the kids back together and the teachers back together, of course, as quickly as possible and as closely resembling non-pandemic times as possible. But we are not going to do that until we get the all clear and provided the guidelines and best practices for how we do that safely.
Sure.
Period, full stop.
Sure.
And that's absolutely true. And just one of the things that, because of that, one of the things we got to do is plan for options, and that's what we're trying to do. So we don't know. There's more unknown than there is known right now, as we think about summertime or next fall. But I want our public to know, and I know Charles is such a big part of this, we've got to begin our planning for multiple options so that we can, if you will, pull the trigger at a moment's notice, like we did in March, to be prepared and ready to do for kids what we're trained to do. And so that's the nature of our work now for the remainder of the year, and I know that will be the work that Charles and the administrative team do when July 1 rolls out. Sure.
And obviously, Charles is going to be going forward. Charles is going to be the one in the hot seat in September.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be on a lounge chair, sitting on a deck overlooking the water someplace, Phil.
Well, I'm not sure I'm going to be sitting on a lounge chair, but I will say that Charles will be in the hot seat, and it will be hot.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep. I know both you and Charles, and I know Susan's been on calls with the governor, and you've been on calls with the commissioner of the State Board of Education. So, going forward as far as in relation to, what the fall is looking like. I know that is, at this time it's, wait and see. But is there any kind of visions going forward on where we're going to be and how we're going to, cope with things?
You want me to take that one, Phil?
Sure, go ahead.
So, again, I like your description of the crystal ball being cloudy, but even in that place of uncertainty, we're still designing plans, right? And we have in mind, and I want to be clear with everybody that these are still being developed, and once they're developed fully, they'll be more clearly communicated because there's a lot of details that are going to go into these. But here are the broad designs. Next fall, we envision school opening in one of three models. There are three likely scenarios that we're going to have in place to welcome students back when the end of August and September rolls around. Scenario one, the one that we do not want, hope, the one that we pray goes away, but that will be continued distance learning. If our health officials advise us that school is not safe to open, we will be prepared to start distance learning again, learn from what we've learned this fall, perfect it, and be ready to go with a distance learning format in the fall. The second scenario, the one that we hope for, is the one where all of our students and teachers are back. When the halls are full, the classrooms are full, sports are running, lunches are held, PE classes are held, cooking classes are held, all of the things that we enjoyed in a pre-pandemic world that we sort of took for granted, that's back, right? And that's back without any conditions. That's what we want to get to. But we expect that if we're back in that format, there will be some different and clearer guidelines about how we maintain social distancing, and again, with the advice of medical professionals, have in place those things that we need to do to keep kids safe. So Model 1 would be distance learning. Model 2 would be everybody back with some new guidelines that we're going to enforce very strongly to make sure that we keep people as safe as possible and mitigate the spread of this terrible virus. And then, of course, there's a third model. Some of those best practices that we're starting to hear about are telling us things like you can't have more than 10 people together. Some of the guidelines around camps that we've seen is you can't open a camp unless you've requested a waiver with more than 30 people. Certainly, we have many more than 30 or even 10 people coming to school every day. So there may be a hybrid in there somewhere where schools are open for fewer numbers of students, and that may involve A and B day schedules or staggered start times or modified approaches to the day. So there's sort of Model A, which would be distance learning, Model B, which would be everybody back with appropriate guidelines in place, and then a third model that involves some hybrid of distance learning and everybody back. And what's going to make this even more complicated is we're going to design these three models, and we're also going to design a process that we transition between models at potentially a day's notice. Much like we had to quickly transition out of school this year, we may find ourselves in a situation where everybody's back first week, then we're in distance learning the next week, then we're in hybrid the week after, then we're in everybody back. And that may happen in real time based on second or third waves that the nation state experience with this terrible virus. And we're going to have to, the reality is, I think everybody's going to have to be aware of this, is we're going to have to accept this as the new normal, hopefully until the brilliant scientists working here in Connecticut and elsewhere develop that vaccine that finally defeats this thing and we can get back to complete normal.
Yes, and that, what that complete normal is, I think is going to be, not normal as we have known it, as far as that goes. I mean, you look at primarily the way that, not only we in the town, but you in the school district, we've been, holding our meetings through Zoom. We've been holding our, teacher meetings through Google Meets, as far as that goes. So it is definitely, a transition, and business is getting done. There's no question about that. But it's just done in a totally, I don't want to say foreign format, but definitely a new format.
No, it's a completely foreign format.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
But Dave, we also want to be able to take some lessons that we've learned from this pandemic, and they're as simple as, and you and I have talked about this, the fact that more people are engaged with our meetings through Zoom. I mean, we have 60, 70, 80 people now attending our virtual Board of Ed meetings. We'd like that engagement, and that's far better than the 2 or 3 that we typically get in our monthly meeting. So the fact that people are more engaged with our Board of Ed meetings and the happenings of our school district really is important, and I hope that that's going to be part of the quote unquote new normal for us.
Sure.
Yeah, and the other thing I would just add to Philip too, I'm a glasses half full person. I want to be an optimist, and I see a lot of silver linings in this. We're learning a lot.
Sure.
If out of this, if we perfect this hybrid model, if we perfect this distance learning, if we're able to maintain continuums of instruction, I don't want to scare anybody, but I would love to see us have year-round schooling.
Sure.
We might be able to accomplish something like that.
Sure.
between combinations of in-person and online learning. We may see the end of snow days, right? If we perfect this model, we may not need to go to school until the end of June because of some blizzards that we experience. Also, for our students, and the gentleman working our camera right now is one who's certainly going to experience this in his life. Our kids are going to, our adults now, are the majority of professional development and academic experiences have already shifted to online.
Sure.
So there is lots of good that can come out of this. We just have to look for those opportunities, learn from them, and then not just forget about them and get back to normal, but use them to push us forward. Right?
Sure, absolutely. And I think, a lot of good that has come out of that obviously is the parade that was scheduled, and you guys did an awesome job on Friday. And we're going to be playing that in just a second here. But also one of the things that parents had to adjust, with social distancing and on weekends what to do, staying at home and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that Portland has been, kind of the head of the curve on, as well as a lot of other towns, but our Airline Trail Committee, that has worked tirelessly, Lou Pear and Ralph Zampano and Riz Rizzo, that Airline Trail, which basically is about 3.5 miles, I think. We did a video of that goes from Middle Haddam Road to the town line, is getting unbelievable usage. You can go out there anytime during the day, and there are, I don't want to say throngs of people, but there are a lot of people that are utilizing that, and that also goes, there's a stretch in East Hampton that hasn't been finished yet, but on the other side of East Hampton there, it goes all the way to Willimantic. So those are, activities that, parents are utilizing with their kids to get out, get fresh air, get exercise, and it doesn't cost anything,
Just this morning, Dave, I spoke with a Portland parent who has been doing a lot of hiking with her family and sees this as a very positive outcome, if you will, of this crisis. I know the O'Reillys have taken to the trails all around the northwest corner of Connecticut to explore these wonderful resources that our state has that we, the O'Reillys, haven't taken the time to explore. So people have taken the time to do other things, and I think it's a good thing that getting exercise, getting out there, exploring the beauty of our state and what it has to offer, that has been one of the positives.
Fantastic. So without any further ado, guys, Kevin, why don't you roll that footage of the parade? And again, that's 4 minutes and about 20 seconds of just unbelievable footage of the gratitude that was shown throughout the town, not only by the teachers, and staff, but by the students and parents and so forth. And then we'll show you all that the video that we did for the Airline Trail and so forth. So don't go away. We'll be right back here at Portland on the Move.
Airline Trail is a multi-use trail that is here in Connecticut. The trail in Portland is about 2.5 miles long. However, once it's connected to the East Hampton section, it'll be 25 to 50 miles. There is a section east of Willimantic that goes to Putnam, and it's part of the East Coast Greenway, which is a plan to make these trails go from Maine to Florida. The use of our trail here will be a combination of walking, hiking, jogging, bicycling, horseback riding. Most days when you come here in the parking lot of the head of the trail, there are at least 4, 5, 6 cars that are here. A dozen people or so are on the trail walking or hiking or jogging or biking. So the trail has been very well received by residents and people from the surrounding towns. This first started, our Board of Selectmen in town 4.5 years ago formed a committee of members from the town called the Portland Airline Trail Steering Committee. And our vision was to develop a trail from Portland to move eastward. The committee worked very hard in trying to first get permission to use the property. And the property was owned by Eversource, so Eversource gave us a license. And once we received that license, we then filled out an application for a grant with the Department of Environmental Protection. And then the next step was the committee said we need to select a contractor. Once the contractor was selected, we got to work.
Phase 2 will take us from the current ending point at the YMCA border through the Butler property, down Route 66 into the town of Portland. It's a long-term goal. We have a lot of activities we will need to complete to make that happen. We are also looking at the depot at the intersection of Marlborough Street and Chichito Road that will allow us to have an economic development area for the town of Portland in the future.
It's nice that the Board of Selectmen had the foresight 4.5 years ago to choose a group of people to say, listen, we'd like to have this type of trail. What do you think? How can it be done? And go ahead with it. When we see happy people and children biking and hiking and walking, it's very rewarding for us and also rewarding for the town, because this is a part of Portland's health and wellness initiative.
Lastly, if you'd like to join us and volunteer some of your time, we're always looking for new members to the committee. We also are looking for volunteers to help us maintain the trail. Please look at the webpage. It has all your contact information, or on our Facebook page. We really appreciate all the assistance we've had in the past, but we're looking forward to another 25 years, and we need your help.
Hey, we're back here at Portland on the Move, and again, we are filming a remote version of the Portland on the Move show. Now, the Portland on the Move show is a monthly broadcast here at Channel 15 and the Comcast channel in the Middletown, Portland area and so forth, and we film usually the first Tuesday of every month, and the Portland on the Move show is produced by the Town Tech Educational Partnership, which is a cooperative partnership between the Portland High School and the Portland Town Hall. And it's a great opportunity for students to work on producing and writing and filming a live TV show. And so we hope you enjoy it. Our guests today are director, actually, of superintendent of I'm going to say public works, not quite, superintendent of schools, Dr. Philip O'Reilly, and our soon-to-be superintendent of schools, Dr. Charles Britton. So welcome back, guys. Thanks so much for taking time. I know you're calling in on the phone, Philip, so I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to go forward here. So.
My pleasure, and I we've talked about the importance of people being engaged, so it's been great to do this recent blog with you, or the podcast with you, and then this show as well, and I know that Charles will see this as a valuable tool to communicate with the community.
Absolutely. So speaking of that, Charles, you're going to be, like Philip said, you're going to be the man in the hot seat. So how are you going to keep that seat cool?
Well, I don't know if it'll be hot seat. I've got we've got great people here in Portland. I'm surrounded by brilliant leaders and committed teachers, engaged parents, a great board of ed. I'm not feeling like it's a hot seat. I'm feeling like people certainly are supportive in every possible way. I guess the only thing I would just like to sort of, maybe kind of wrap up with as I think about, more than ever, it is going to be critically important for all of the decisions and plans that we make to be transparent, engage as many people in the process of designing those plans, and clearly communicated, right? In addition, I'm encouraging parents, teachers, students to not only stay informed, be aware of those communications, but I'm also going to ask for some patience and flexibility. I hope folks are going to understand that the plans that we design and communicate on Monday may change based on new information Wednesday, right? So I hope folks won't see that or be frustrated by that, won't see that as waffling or won't see that as unclear planning, but will understand that what we have to be able to do, and oftentimes public education hasn't been very good at being nimble and adjusting to the times.
Yeah.
We largely look the same as we have for a long time. This has really forced us to evolve our practices. So we're going to do our best. We're going to develop plans that reflect best practices, and we're going to communicate those, but then we're going to adjust them based on ongoing evidence, data, research, best practices, and how this terrible virus continues to manifest itself. So every week, our building principals do a brilliant job sending out a Friday email. And then Philip, of course, has been, and I've been using something we call School Messenger to communicate out with parents. Our primary vehicle of communication is going to continue to be the emails that are distributed and then information that's posted on our website. That is going to be the most trusted source of up-to-date and reliable information. Be careful about what you read on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and every other social media. Be careful of who's giving you that information. And I'm just going to ask that certainly for the foreseeable future, trust the website information, trust the information that you receive from a principal, from me, or from Philip. And if you ever have any questions, if you ever read something, especially on social media, that you're unsure of, call us or email us directly. We are very good and very quick with our responses, but we want to make sure everybody has timely, up-to-date, and accurate information. But with that also comes an ask that people are flexible and patient as that information is subject to change.
Sure, absolutely. I think point well taken. I think one of the things too that Portland is lucky in that your prior position, going in past you were the director of curriculum and technology, so it's going to put you at a distinct advantage versus somebody coming in from the outside. So tell us how that has helped you roll, going forward into, the head chair, so to speak.
Yeah, boy, I couldn't imagine somebody coming in from outside the district cold and not even knowing where the buildings are, just learning people's names or making first acquaintances over Zoom or Google Meet. That would add a level of complexity. I'm heading into my fourth year here. I have met wonderful people. I know the district well. I made a decision to ask to be the superintendent here. I wouldn't have done that if I didn't think that it was a good fit, that there were good people here, that we were moving in the right direction. So I think I definitely have a leg up. I know everybody by name. I understand how things have evolved over the past 3.5 years, and I think you're right. That is going to give me an advantage and help me hit the ground running starting July 1.
And as a result of your foresightedness, I think that was a tremendous plus going from our in-school learning to, the online learning as far as that goes, because, relatively speaking, students were well served, and most all of the students in the district had their own devices, right. And there was a little bit of scrambling there at the end. But tell us how that worked out for you.
It's really interesting. I have my wife is a teacher, and I know obviously have lots of colleagues who are teachers in other districts. And this is a shout out to Philip too. He and I had a couple of stressful days right at the beginning of this. Way back in the middle of March when this first happened, a lot of districts said, oh, well, we're going to view the first 2 weeks of this as snow days and make up the days in June. Philip, courageously and with my 100% support said, nope, we're ready to go to distance learning on the first day of this crisis. And we don't need to make up those days because the capacity is built. Specifically, that capacity was built because all of our students in grades 5 through 12 had already had a Chromebook and had a device, and all of our teachers had been well trained and had been using technology, specifically the Google applications and other online resources throughout the year. So our kids were ready and our teachers were ready day one, not to have to take 2 weeks and figure this out and plan it and look at them as snow days, but to start with this thing immediately. And I think that's a reflection of the good work that we've done over the past 4 or 5 years in the district.
Well, I think, that's, just a testament to, Philip and your whole administrative team that have been, like I say, hit the ground running
Right.
and didn't miss a beat.
So a couple of shout-outs. One is a return thank you to Charles because, his foresight in getting our secondary school teachers trained using the Google apps, the Google Level 1 certification. That was a key component that he implemented before the school even began this past year. So having that training already in place was key to the success of our distance learning plan. That's number one. Number two is we have an incredibly talented technology team. 3 or 4 people who are working diligently day in and day out to solve problems and to make this work for kids and for parents. And we could not have done it without this tech team. They are amazing people, and they're working 7 days a week, and they're working many, many hours every day.
Yeah,
So
and I want to add on that, and our student tech interns.
Especially the one in the studio now. Nick Dawson has been an amazing support for us, and we appreciate all his efforts in the last 4 years.
Yeah, I think he's a keeper.
Yeah.
He is a keeper. We want him back in the Portland Public Schools.
Hopefully, we're gonna keep him busy over the summer
Good.
and so forth. So we'll at least keep him off the streets. Go from there. So
One more shout out, Dave, and this is I say it in a very humble but gratifying manner. I would call them heroes of our district, and that is our 4 cafeteria workers who have worked day in and day out to provide. Now we're exceeding 300 meals a day to Portland students. That is an amazing feat, and I owe them a debt of gratitude, and I think our town owes them a debt of gratitude because they've come in during this crisis every single day, 5 days a week, to serve lunch and breakfast to our students.
yeah, that I think a great point. And why don't you expound on that a little bit, Philip, and how that program started? And I know Sedeco did an awesome job, and just tell us how that program started and evolved.
It's sort of like the how it all started. I didn't think that we had a lot of options, Dave. We move forward. We accept the consequences of school closure, but we need to be aware of our needs and our students' needs. And clearly, we have lots of people who could benefit from meals. And so I reached out to, when we created this plan, we had these different departments, if you will, these different groups of people who would oversee certain areas. And my business assistant, Stephanie Pergola, volunteered to work on the food service piece, and she worked with Sodexo and with the state of Connecticut, and we didn't skip a beat. Day one, breakfast and lunch was served, and we've continued since middle of March. I know a lot of people, including the first select woman, have said, how long can this go? And I'm pushing for for through the summertime, and that hasn't been finalized yet, but that really is something that I'd like to see happen as we roll into the new fiscal year on July 1, is that we continue with this breakfast and lunch program, especially if we have some sort of program for summer day camp or rec department. If we can introduce this component into that plan, that would be great as well.
Sure. No, absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. So great. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. I think at least that gives our viewers a little bit of foresight and understanding on where we are, how we got here, and hopefully where we're going in the fall. And again, Philip, I want to take this opportunity to all the good work that you have done. It has been a terrific experiences with me working with you and your whole staff. And we certainly want to wish you and your all your puppies and your grandkids all the best of luck on your upcoming retirement. And again, Charles, thank you for doing such a great job. And I know this transition is going to be seamless, and the town is going to go forward, and then we're going to be in great hands. So.
Well, thank you, Dave. I just shout out back to you. It's been a pleasure working with you, as it has been the entire town of Portland. I accepted this challenge with the idea that this could be a great capstone for my career, a K-12 superintendency. And holy cow, it really has been, and it ended the way it began, very busily, in a very busy manner. But I can't say enough thanks to the people who made it all possible and who continue to work so hard. Our teachers are amazing people, our administrators. It has just been a pleasure for me to work with them.
Great. Thank you, Philip, and thank you, Charles.
Thank you, and I hope you invite me back in June and July. And
I'm going to be ringing your phone off the hook. We're going to get you in that podcast studio, and
I'm ready. Let's go.
We're ready to go. So as far as that goes, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that is kind of bringing our May version of Portland on the Move to a close. And again, our guests today are our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Philip O'Reilly, and our soon-to-be Superintendent of Schools. I think that happens, July 1?
July 1, yep.
Charles?
July 1.
July 1, Dr. Charles Britton. So, again, our Portland on the Move show airs live at the Comcast studio, or it's not going to be live this time, but at tape. But it usually airs on the first Tuesday of every month at 8 p.m. At the studio has been closed in this pandemic era and so forth, but we've been doing the shows remotely. And again, our Town Tech Educational Partnership is a partnership between Portland High School and the Portland Town Hall. So again, thanks for listening. And as I close all our podcasts with every time, please stay home, stay safe, and wash your hands. Thanks so much.
There's a road runs through this town, tells a story. It's got me exactly where I'm supposed to be. And if you're thinking of me, well, don't be worried, 'cause I'm as happy as you are, surely soon to see. And I say, come over,